Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have with me in the studio Dame Naomi Achinulo. Dame Achinulo is a chief magistrate in Imo State, and she is the president of the Catholic Women Organization, CWO. Madam, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Father.
Good. We have major issues today with parenting. The world has changed so phenomenally at such a frenetic speed in the last 10-15 years that anybody who was alive and died 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if they come back now, they can almost not recognize the place. Then, because of internet, social media, all the various social media influencers all over the place, the processes of socialization that used to be dominated by the church, the school, the family, the family, the church, and the school in that order. Today, they are being overturned by social media. So, children are spending 10 hours on internet every day and are like 10 minutes with their parents. Maybe 1 hour on Sunday in church. So the powerful influences that are shaping the values of our children today happen to be social media, television, Instagram, TikTok, Netflix. And who are those that are dominating these channels, these platforms? They are often not necessarily the kind of people that you would want to be mentors for your children and your grandchildren. So, seeing you president of CWO Archdiocesan, and also hold a very critical position as a chief magistrate, I'm saying, what's going on? One, what's going on in our world? How do you feel about what is going on? And then, what kind of influences our young people are getting? And finally, what can organizations and individuals who make up organizations like your own CWO, what can you do to influence the quality of parenting so that our young people can be equipped to go through the challenges of the day without getting terribly damaged?
Thank you very much, Reverend. It is quite true that our society today is going haywire, and parenting and the children are the victims. They are now at the receiving end. Yes, formerly, the family had values. When we were growing up, we know that your parents will say, don't keep late night, don't go out to those places. Certain places you were restricted, and certain things you were also restricted. But it's no longer the case, especially as recorded with our young mothers and young fathers, because each person has a blame there. We seems to be neglecting our roles as parents in these days, probably because of economic reason, and that is the most strategic reason. Most parents are all out there looking for the means to take care of these children, and thereby subjecting the children, the young ones, to the teachers, the churches, and social media. And social media has taken over. A typical example is a little child from nursery, primary, has a phone, has computer. That should not be the case. We should start training them, especially when they are with us at home, by ourselves. I think when we give them this value from the onset, they get imbibed with these values and grow up with it, so that when they grow to adult age, they will remember that my mother always said this, my father always said this, my mother said don't do this and don't do, and it grew with us. That is the check we have to place now on the social media. Social media is taking over our children. They copy everything there. Children no longer do homework by themselves. They type in Google, and there's another one better, another so much device, chat GBT and all that. They don't read their books anymore, and we are not there when they are chatting. We are not there when they are browsing. We are not there when they need to ask questions. Parents should be there for their children. That is where we are heading.
Now, what role, I mean, in recent times I've been engaged in serious discussions about this, about the whole challenge of parenting. Many people who are getting married today, meaning people in their 20s and early 30s, have themselves not been properly parented. So, how do they take care? I mean, Nemo that what cannot have it. You don't give what you don't have. How are they to solve this problem of parenting when they themselves have not been properly parented?
That is a very good one, because if you don't give what you don't have. But the only advice is to learn. It is never too late to learn. I have some adult children. When they don't understand things, they phone. You can get an elder in the church or get an elder in the society that can teach you, especially the basic things like cooking. You know, this Indomie generation, most of them don't even know how to cook basic food. You don't keep quiet. You don't pretend. Get an elderly woman somewhere that you can trust and confide and learn. You can never be too old to learn. That's the only advice I can give to us.
I mean, you are telling the young people who were not properly parented to look for somebody, an older person to learn from. But what if they don't know that they don't know? You see, because it's easier if you know that you don't know, then you seek knowledge. But what about, we do have people today, a lot of younger people, including those that are married, that are raising their children very badly, but they don't know that they don't know. They think they are doing the best thing for their child.
That is where some of these Christian organizations come in. Like the Catholic Women Organization, we all have groups and rules and regulation, where we find any of our mothers, any of our members erring, we call them to order by looking at, if you're fighting with your husband or you are not taking care of your children, and we get such reports, there is a rule governing such an act. Is either we present you before the women and hand you over to the disciplinary committee, who will look into that matter in a means of not punishment, not sanction, but teaching, but trying to teach you one or two things that you don't know. And if such a person is humble and wants to learn, he will pick up from there. Especially those women that feel that they should be the oga in the house, when you know that you should be submissive to your husband. If we receive such complaint in the CW, we look at our rules and then we give you, we will just speak it out to you, give it to you, say it as it is. Through that way, we have corrected so many of our women.
If you are too hard on some of the young people, they stop coming to your church. Period. Because I mean, unlike before now, where the church was the center of the life of many people, well, if you harass them too much, they can stop coming to your church. So what do?
We have, from our records, they don't stop. They want to come.
They want to
belong.
Yes,
because we have made this association to be so interesting that if you don't belong, you feel like an outcast. There are so many activities we do. There are days where it is just Mother's Day, CW Day. Such days, women come out in elegant fashion with programs. So it makes it attractive for them to come.
Beyond those celebrations, Mother's Day, whatever, beyond those celebrations, what are the spiritual and pastoral activities that will make anybody that does not seriously belong miss not belonging? Apart from the social, what I would say the more social events, what are the more spiritual and pastoral events?
Okay, we have programs that touches us spiritually. We have retreats, we have seminars, we have workshops, and we have priests, men of God, that come to teach us and take time to teach us throughout those days. There are always something to learn, and we take our rosary very seriously, and we at every meeting of CW there's always a time for spiritual outpouring or lecture by a chaplain. Every CW group has a chaplain.
You meet like once a month?
Once a month.
In parishes?
And at the diocesan level also once in a month. And in the midst of that meeting, there's always a priest, a reverend father that the archbishop or bishop places as our guardian. So we don't lack spiritual teachings.
We don't like spiritual teaching. But what about pastoral care of your members? By which I mean there are members that are sick. There are members that lose their husband or their child. There are members that run into some accident, some misfortune. What programs do you have in place to come to the aid of such members? Because those are the kind of things that make people that endear people to those sodalities. It is how you care for members, especially those that fall into circumstances of need, in not just financial need, but bereavement and so on and so forth. What do you do?
In every group like the CW, we have what we call bylaws. And in the bylaws, we have benefits that touches on bereavement, when you're sick, when you're doing child dedication. Even when you leave us for a period of time, we don't see you, we look at what it's content and go and visit. There's always a cash benefit we give to our members who are sick, and also those who are bereaved. We visit them for some time, and on the day of burial we go in mass in our uniform. It's a form of solidarity to them. When they are doing child dedication, so long as you're a member, we visit you. It is because of this camaraderie during emphasis and the visits and the group solidarity that makes them not to leave the association.
So let's get back to parenting now. What do you do directly as CWO, Christian Women, Catholic Women Organization, to help your members in the raising of their children on an ongoing basis? I'm not talking about if they report somebody for misbehaving. On an ongoing basis, because I have presented a scenario that is not very wonderful with the young generation, including young parents. So what do you have? Do you have any programs? And if you don't have, isn't it desirable to have programs that will assist on an ongoing basis to assist your members in the raising of their children to have fear of God, to have a life of purpose, to have a life of meaning in the midst of the confusion that we are in?
We have such programs. Just like I said, in our annual seminar or periodic seminar, we always have topics that touches on parenthood, on children, on youth, and on the women and girl child. So we take advantage of such programs to teach them. And they have subgroups under the CWO group itself. That in that subgroup is smaller group where a leader takes care of the younger mothers. When they have cases of any such, they give them advice. Such groups are a mixture of older, middle-aged, and younger women. so that the older ones will always advise the younger ones in the way to go. And we encourage our children to belong to other sodalities that are meant for the youth, such as the Sion, the Mary League. All our members, we always encourage our children to belong there, so that even if we cannot give them that knowledge, those younger peer groups can give them the knowledge. It's all encompassing in CWO.
That is in parenting. Now, in the integrity of marriage, because I said that one of the biggest challenges today is that marriage is in crisis. The marriage institution, Christian marriage, is in major crisis across the world. So what are CWO leaders doing? First of all, do CWO leaders consider, do they recognize that we have a crisis?
Yes, because we now have complaints, especially in the younger ones, the ones that are getting married newly. We have complaints, but we find a way of solving this complaint. It is only when it is out of hand, especially when it involves violence, that we advise them to either do separation or seek help somewhere. Otherwise, if it is other complaint like cannot cook, doesn't stay at the house, cannot keep the house neat, we advise you. But when it comes to domestic violence,
now this thing you mentioned about advice to separate, it turns out that many young people within our church, and especially outside our church, Christians, do not know about judicial separation, do not know about the fact that Christians can separate without going for divorce. The Catholic Church does not recognize divorce, but there is separation, and you can even make it judicial, you can even make it formal. And as long as you separate and you are not married another person, we are still considered husband and wife.
Yes.
And when the situation calms down, then they come together. But are your women, for example, in Owerri Archdiocese, who may be under some threat of violence, do they know that there is this option of temporary separation?
They do, because we tell them when they have such complaint and when they have such need. We have done certain cases and matters that worked. We had an example of a couple. The man was always beating up the woman. We asked her to leave, or she took the option to leave. We encouraged her. Within 6 months, the guy was looking for her so earnestly that when she went back, the home was now peaceful. We educate them on this option. Since the Catholic Church does not allow divorce, we educate them that they can just leave the environment for a while.
I hope you know that part of the reason why many women will not leave the environment, will not leave the house, is that very often they have nowhere to go. So, can the CWO in your archdiocese think of having some kind of halfway house, some kind of refuge, a place of refuge where a woman that is threatened can go and stay for 3 months, for example?
Yes, especially our Owerri Archdiocese. We have a guest house.
You have a guest house?
Yes,
the women have a guest house?
The women have we run a guest house. So when we have cases like this, we give them one room to stay for a while until they calm down. That our guest house is in the heart of the city. So there is no problem about getting a safe place for them to stay. So long as we know of such cases, they come to us, we alert our chaplain. Yes,
what structures do you have in place to ensure that a woman that is threatened, in whether it is in Umuagwo or in Emekuku or in whatever, that such a woman knows there's a number? Is there a crisis number that such a woman can call? Because you see, that you have a guest house and that you do sometimes allow women who are in trouble to use the place temporarily, it's not enough if every woman does not know, for example, that there is a number that can be called, and that number is in the hand of every CW woman.
Yes. In fact, we have a platform of all the presidents and secretaries of parishes in that archdiocese. So all the numbers of the executive are in the platform, particularly the number of the president, the chaplain are in the platform. They call us most of the time. In fact, I share my working hours between phone calls from CWO women and phone calls from the office. They all have this number. We make sure that we keep our phones and numbers open for such possible help.
Yeah, I mean, because one of the things that we will definitely encourage in our eliminating sexual and gender-based violence program is to encourage churches, especially big churches, a big church like Azomta Cathedral and the other churches, then a diocese group like CWO or Archdiocese of Owerri, to actually have help desks, so that there is somebody who may be paid some small stipend, who has a phone number that is always available. Whatever little effort you have made, that effort will not be as good as if there was a particular number that is always available, because nobody knows when somebody will be in trouble.
Exactly.
So your group can actually go one step further by just having one lady whose job, maybe 50% of the job, is simply hold a particular number that can be called, so that it is that one that will call you or call the parish president or call whatever to say, this woman is in trouble, we need to act immediately. So like a help desk, I think it is something that you can work on.
Yes, it's a very good idea. When we go back, we'll have that particular help desk. But for now, they can always reach
you. Okay. Finally, before we go, you are a senior magistrate. I have a nephew who is a judge in a customary court, and he complains bitterly about the number of marital cases that are coming seeking divorce every day. Now, what is your own experience, and to what extent are these couples who seeking divorce? I hope that there are not many Christian women among them, Christian men among them. You know, how rampant is this down your side and in your magistrate courts?
Actually, marriage matters are done by the customary courts if it is that marriage was contracted in a customary way.
Yes.
But if it's a statutory marriage, they go to high court.
Oh, so your court is
my court is spared.
Your court is spared.
Is spared. But notwithstanding, from the records, there are quite a number of these cases, and most of the time it is arranged marriages or marriages of the man leaving the woman and going abroad. That is the percentage that are high.
Oh. So a lot of cases of the man leaving the woman
and going abroad and staying
and staying for many years,
and the woman is here suffering.
And then the woman begins to hear that he is having a relationship.
Exactly.
There.
Or the man wants to divorce the woman to marry somebody else there. That's the record we have. It is high there. This record of going abroad and leaving your spouse here. So I will just advise the women, if he must leave you and go abroad, make sure that you have a promise or a commitment from him that he will send for you within the shortest possible time. That's the number of cases that we have down there. That's the record.
Yeah. So where does adequate preparation for marriage belong? My own experience about these marriages that are collapsing left, right, and center among younger people is that many of those marriages are not well prepared for. When a lot of these young people want to marry, they want to marry quick. And the provision of the church is that you have 6 months period, 3 months out of which is for premarital course. But a lot of the young people, they want everything quick. And then, unfortunately, some of my own colleagues, they fall for some of these things, and it's almost like I'm a good priest if I make it easy for for people to wed in my church, make it easy. But at the end of the day, nobody seems to be keeping a track of how many marriages did we contract in 2020. By end of 2021 or 22 or 23, how many of those marriages are still intact? Nobody seems to be doing that research.
Yes, we don't have such statistics. But thank God for this marriage course and premarital training, which the Catholic Church gives to its couple. It's really helping, at least to check those people, the young couples, for a while until things go haywire. But most young couples, if they have very good background, if they still have their parents living, they can save their marriages. All they need to do is calm down and listen to advice. No, just like I said, nobody is above learning. You keep learning every day. If you just get somebody that you can ask, Mommy, how do they do this? Daddy, how do they do this? If you can get such a person as a young couple, you will get your man. You don't have to say everything that happens between you and your husband, but the basic one that you need some enlightenment, get somebody that can tell you if you don't have a mother to do that.
On this note, I'll be bringing this program to an end. I have been speaking with Dame Naomi Achinulo. She is a chief magistrate in the Imo State Judiciary. She is also the president of the Catholic Women Organization in the Archdiocese of Owerri. We have been speaking about parenting and the crisis that is befalling marriage and family life today, and how CWO can contribute its quota to work towards the integrity of our marriages and the raising of our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
God
Father.
bless you.
Thank you, Father.
Yeah.